All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. JD, I'll be very impressed if you know the name of that song and the band.
I will tell you, it is called Flagpole Sitta.
Very good.
And the name of the band is Harvey Danger.
I am very impressed because I know you're like borderline millennial. You're borderline.
Hey, I'm 34.
Yes, but that
you're 63.
Listen, I am pretty old. You're right about that. That's fair. They're a one-hit wonder from the 90s, but I love those 90s songs. Anyway, I love going to good restaurants, too. What we hate going is to restaurants where we see there are rats in the kitchen and cockroaches in our food, and that's why we have Darcy Spears, who is a model citizen for us. She does a great job, obviously, on 13 Action News with her Dirty Dining segments, and we've got some new Dirty Dining that we want to share with you thanks to Darcy. Darcy, thank you so much for joining us again. How are you?
What's up, Darcy?
I'm doing great. We had quite a week.
Yes, I've been reading up on it, and I've been looking forward to talking to you about it. Not good for some of these restaurants. Let's start off, Darcy, with Carlitos. Tell us where this restaurant is and what you found.
So Carlitos Cuban Food and Cafeteria, they're down there on Maryland Parkway and Caron, and they were one of 3 restaurants that tied for the highest demerits, a 33 demerit C grade. But Carlito is quite the character and wasn't pulling any punches in our report and was very happy to loudly and emphatically and passionately proclaim his distaste for the health inspectors who have been coming to his restaurant. He is a Dirty Dining repeat offender, but he says the problem is them and not him.
Well, isn't that what? Don't you get excuses from a lot of different people? Like, haven't you told me in the past that when people are even repeat offenders, they blame employees, they blame all sorts of different things except for the manager himself or herself?
Yeah, well, and this guy's the restaurant owner, and so he's the buck stops with me kind of in that position. But he is not having any of it. He called the violations stupid. He called them not real. He called the health inspectors dirty, nasty people. Yeah.
Wow.
No joke. And he said he's
like
got
Trump.
$1 million saved up, and he is going to fight the health district and kick them out of his restaurant.
So is he going to file a lawsuit, basically, is what he's saying?
Well, he didn't go so far as to actually use that language. He just kept saying, I have $1 million saved, and I'm going to fight this.
Do you remember, this reminds me a little bit, you just don't mess with certain people. I don't know if you remember the movie, I can't believe I'm going to reference this, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, License to Drive. And in the movie, Corey Haim is the guy that's trying to get his driver's license. He's 16 years old, and I guess he cheated on his test, and there's a scene in that movie where the lady that works at the DMV desk, she says, you mustn't F with the Department of Motor Vehicles. We will make your life a living hell. And I feel like that's what the health district can do to you. If you're going to trash them and badmouth them, they're going to keep coming after you. Am I wrong in thinking that?
Well, it's anybody's guess, but I will tell you that a lot of the folks that have been commenting on Facebook this morning are kind of saying the same thing, especially people who have been in the food and beverage industry. And they're like, this is not about us versus them.
Right.
This is about abiding by the health code and working with the health district. And that it's just, potential business suicide to have this kind of attitude.
Yeah,
That's at least what we're hearing from industry folks that are commenting on Facebook.
Have you ever dealt with an owner this delusional before?
Well, he had quite a fan club in his restaurant that didn't think he was delusional, that was high-fiving him and cheering him on. And, it was quite a scene in there.
Were they all wearing MAGA hats? Sorry, that was a horrible joke. Terrible.
I'm not allowed to have any political views. No comment, no comment, no comment.
Fine, fair enough. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Darcy Spears, Channel 13 Action News. Great job doing your Dirty Dining segments, of course, on 13 and with us every week. All right, so there's a restaurant. It's a Filipino buffet. I go to a lot of buffets before. I can't recall ever going to a Filipino buffet. This one is located on Serene and Spencer. It's called Cucina ni Lorraine. Tell us about this.
And Cucina ni Lorraine has multiple locations in the Valley. I think there are at least 4. 3 of them have been on Dirty Dining. It is all owned by the same family, and they're in a variety of different locations kind of spread out throughout the Valley. But it does seem that they have a tremendous amount of trouble following the health code. They just keep getting in trouble. Nice people, I got to give them that. A very different experience at Cucina ni Lorraine than I had at Carlitos and, of course, at Del Taco, which I'm sure we'll get to in a second. But they just keep having the same same issues and the same violations in terms of the basic stuff like food temperatures and hand washing. And so now they're in a process where they have to go through intervention training with the health district, which is kind of an advanced level of scrutiny and oversight because of repeated violations and failure to comply with the health code.
All right. Well, when I think of Filipino buffet, I never think of food that I want to eat. Maybe I'm just not a fan of that type of food because I don't like spicy food, Darcy. That's my problem. But that'll just give me more of a reason not to go to this location. All right. You mentioned Del Taco. I actually just had Taco Bell yesterday, and I was on the toilet all day. But Del Taco, this one is located.
I'm really glad you let us know that, Brian.
Is that like a total TMI or what?
I had to buy extra. I had to buy toilet paper. I ran out yesterday.
It's very commonplace for this show.
Anyway, Del Taco. Come on, we're talking about bugs in your food. You got to be able to deal with that. Del Taco on Martin Luther King Boulevard and Lake Mead Boulevard got a 33 demerit C grade back in January. Tell us about this.
So they, again, with the trifecta that we had last night, a three-way tie for the highest number of demerits, Del Taco was among them. And, you know, instead of the mea culpa, I'm sorry, we know we have problems, we're going to fix it response that we got at Cucina Ni Lorraine, I was faced with this incredibly rude manager at Del Taco who did something that I've never had happen to me before. When I handed her my business card and said, okay, I understand you don't want to talk right now, but if anybody would like to call back and offer comment, here's my card. You're going to be on Wednesday night. She takes my card and literally shreds it, rips it into pieces in front of my face.
Oh, my God.
And drops it on the counter.
Obviously,
and then
she was a
walks
very,
away
very.
saying, I'm not dealing with this expletive.
Obviously, she was a very, very big Nancy Pelosi fan, which is why she did that.
You know what? She pulled a Pelosi before it was a Pelosi. It happened prior.
She pulled a Pelosi. That's going to be said for the rest of our lives. You pull the Pelosi when you rip something up. All right, so she rips up the card right in front of you. Does she ask you to leave after that, or what happens after that?
She just says, she walked away and said, I'm not dealing with that expletive. She didn't herself want to be on camera, which is fine. The people don't have to talk to me if they don't want to. But I'm always very professional. I'm very nice, and I always bring a card just in case maybe you're not the person who wants to offer comment, but perhaps there's somebody else.
All right. Well, let me just say this, and I know you're not going to say it, so I'll just say it myself. For the woman who is the manager on Del Taco on Martin Luther King Boulevard and Lake Mead Boulevard, I would think customers need to go on there and rip something up in front of her. See how she likes it, and say you're not going to put up with this blank. I'm sorry that you had to go through that this woman is so unprofessional that she had to treat you that way. It's sad. And then you're talking to me about a manager at a restaurant who, you know, has his supporters and denies everything and blames the health inspectors. Is it a shock that these people are breaking these laws? Should we be shocked? Look at the way they treat you and look at the way they treat the situation.
I think that there's a lot to be read into how people respond to adversity, which is why there was such a stark comparison that you could draw between the Filipino buffet and Del Taco and Carlito. I mean, they all responded so very differently. And I think that, you know, people are smart enough to take that response on its face, at face value, and realize, okay, if you know what they're saying publicly, then you know what you might be getting privately behind kitchen doors.
So when a place like Del Taco, which is a major franchise, I mean, I can confirm that my family ordered Grubhub Del Taco twice last week. I mean, we order that all the time. Now, when one of these restaurants or one of their locations has something like this take place, do you automatically are they required to automatically have the other locations with much more and more stringent policies or with research into to see if they're operating correctly? Or how does that work with a big franchise like this?
Sometimes you do hear from corporate on things like this where they'll say, you know what, we're going to come in and we're going to, like I think on Baja Fresh, they did that a number of years ago where we heard from their corporate office and they sent a representative to Vegas to do some retraining and evaluate and inspect. So I think it depends on the corporate ownership. Also, if there's a regional director or a regional manager, but when you get individually owned franchises, you know, sometimes they have a lot of leeway and they can kind of just do what they want, and corporate may not be as involved as you might hope. I haven't heard from anyone at Del Taco on a corporate level. One would assume that they would be displeased with their manager's response, or the franchise owner might be displeased. Who knows? The franchise owner might be just like the manager.
And the question is, how many other Del Tacos is this happening at?
Well, that's true, and that's why she's doing what she's doing. I will say this, though, Darcy. If I do go through the drive-thru at the Del Taco on Martin Luther King Boulevard in Lake Mead, if they ask me for sauce or anything on my tacos, I said, no, I'll just want a side of a ripped Darcy Spears business card. Can you put that in my taco, please?
Maybe you should just shred the bill when they give it to you.
I might do that. I might actually do that. I'll pull Pelosi with the bill. I'm going to do that. In fact, I'm going to rip something up right now. I'm going to pull Pelosi.
Oh, man.
I'm going to pull
That was awesome.
God, I got to say this, Darcy. It does feel. I feel kind of a little warm and fuzzy inside when I rip something up. It does feel kind of good.
The last one was you almost didn't get the last one though.
Oh, well, that felt good actually, but I would never treat you like that, Darcy. That's for sure.
Well, I appreciate that, and I got it. We're so nice when we go into these places. We're just trying to give everybody their say, and it's interesting to see the variety of different types of treatment we receive, just depending on.
Well, listen, I'm
who's
sure
in charge.
I'm sure you would agree. We're all entitled to making mistakes, but you're right. It's how you act during adversity, and I'm happy to hear that this Filipino buffet, they take it seriously, and they treated you with respect. You don't want to look at me when I go through adversity when I'm gambling. I'm just an awful human being when I'm gambling and I'm losing. But other than that, I think I'm pretty good under adversity. That's
so
for sure.
Stay away from you or just cut you some slack in that instance.
Well, you wouldn't cut me. I'm brutal at the poker table. But other than that, I think I'm okay when it comes to adversity. But unless my co-host is making fun of me, then I have troubles with that as well. But anyway, Darcy, on a lighter note, you do a great job over there at Channel 13. Can you give our listeners the information where we can watch the actual video of this, and what time does your stuff air, and give out your social media for us?
And yeah, if you haven't seen this, folks, you're going to want to watch, because the video and the characters in this particular episode are certainly worth a few minutes of your time. So it's posted right now at ktnv.com. It's also on Darcy Spears' Facebook page. I've tweeted out a link to it as well, and I know you guys have. My Twitter handle is at DSPINV13. And then, of course, it's going to re-air. It aired last night at 11. Every Dirty Dining episode debuts Wednesday nights at 11 on 13 Action News, but it will air once again in our 6:30 p.m. newscast today.
Do you have video of the woman? I know she didn't want to be on camera, but when she rips up your business card, can you blank out her face? Do you have video of that?
Where she's there. She's in the story.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I can't wait to see that. That is a must-watch. Darcy, always love it when you come on the show. Great job, and keep up the good work. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right,
thanks a lot,
there you
Darcy.
go. Darcy Spears. Somebody pulled a Pelosi on her and ripped up her business card right in front of her. I can't wait to watch the video of that.
I could see one of our listeners going to that exact location and doing that and pulling.
I mean, I've had a couple women do that to me when I've given them my number.
Right,
I mean,
obviously,
that's
happened at least 60 times.
Yeah, I mean, they've pulled a Pelosi on me, and they've ripped my phone number. I've done that. That's happened to me a few times.
And there's actually a video that was just released of her. She's sitting there while Donald Trump is making his speech, and she's testing the paper under the table.
That's funny.
To make sure that she can actually. Well, it'd be even worse if she tried to rip it and she wasn't able to on national television. That would have been horrible.
It's pulling a Pelosi. I love it.
She got to pull Pelosi.
So anyway, we have the link up on the video of that as far as Darcy Spears and the ripping of the business card. We pulled that video. It's up on our Twitter page at The Vegas Take. Also, we have Rob Van Dam coming up here in about 15 minutes. At one point, he was the #1 wrestler in the world. He's going to be joining us, and we have our YouTube page, which is The Vegas Take, and we are streaming it live as we do every day, so you can actually watch a video of Rob Van Dam and his amazing physique.
Well, he brought in a dog last time, didn't he?
I don't know what he's bringing in today, but also joining us in studio will be Tessa Blanchard. She's also a professional wrestler. The Impact Wrestling is in town, so they're going to be joining us in a little bit. And Mike Babcock from TMZ joining us in hour number 3. But coming up next, our own producer, Jason Stein, will be joining us to talk about a sex doll story that involves neighbors that are very upset. I know Stein is very excited about this story. He wishes he was one of those neighbors. He'll be joining us next with this story coming up on The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.